What is up, guys? It's Jimbo here, and welcome to my first build video for Diablo 4, the full launch of the game. Today, we are taking a look at the Werebear leveling build that I am using. This has got me all the way up to roughly level 35, 36, and I'm going to be walking you through it. I do have some extra skill points from doing other activities in the game, such as Renown and such, but we're going to walk through the skill tree, we're going to walk through the core skills and how the build actually works, and what I would recommend, some of the pros and cons. So, without further ado, let's jump into the video. The concept of the build is that we are taking advantage of the Werebear shapeshift and being in it as long as possible to get a lot of buffs, to get a lot of tankiness, and also on top of that, being able to scale it going into the end game, which makes it even stronger, especially when you can transfer it into earth-based skills, turn the Werebear stuff in there with a lot of legendary aspects and such, and it gets even stronger. So let's jump into the core skills and what I would recommend using. Maul is the first one that you're going to be using. It has a shape-shifting. It generates 14 spirit per hit, and that's just on its main thing. And then the modifier that it gives it is that you can get fortify and also increase the radius. I'll talk a little bit more about it in the skill tree and what I would recommend getting, but enhanced maul is very good. The reason why fortify is so good on the Werebear is because the more you take, it means that you have additional life on top of your current life, which means that you can then transfer that fortified life into overpower damage, which then also means you can do increased damage as well. And overpower is absolutely nuts. This is why you want to get as much fortify as possible. Before we go through my main core skill, you will end up getting a defensive skill, which is the Debilitating Roar. This essentially allows you to turn into a Werebear. It reduces nearby enemy damage and basically damage reductions them. And then also you can get Enhanced Debilitating Roar, which also fortifies you for 22% of your base life. The key here is that you build up as much fortify as possible using these two skills. That is your Maul and also Debilitating Roar. And then you can put that into the main damage of the build, which is Pulverize. Pulverize allows you to do a ground attack, AoE attack, for a certain amount of damage. But the main thing is you want to get yourself Enhanced Pulverize, because this will then give you overpower damage if you are healthy. So if you're over 80% of your life and you have this on, you also deal bonus damage on top of that from having fortified life as well. So you can see how the combo works together. Another main skill, and that just gives you a little bit of extra dot damage, will be Poison Creeper. This will be a companion. This can help immobilize enemies as well. When you use this, you get a little bit of poison damage, but also you immobilize enemies as well, which is very good because then you can combine that with the modifiers it gets, which gives you increased critical strike chance whenever something is strangled by the Poison Creeper. Combining that with the overpowered Pulverize, and you have a very good combo there. The last two skills to round everything out is Trample. This will allow you to deal a bunch of extra damage, and it's also a very good movement ability as well. It deals 150% bonus damage if you can get Enhanced Trample and Savage Trample as well. When you cast it, you get 20 spirit back as well, because the spirit gauge is going to be fantastic for dealing with our overpowering Pulverize. Then the last thing that you will pick up is going to be the Grizzly Rage. This keeps you in the unstoppable dire Werebear form for 10 seconds. You get a 20% damage bonus and a 20% damage reduction, and the damage bonus increases by 3% for each second that you're in the form. You kill enemies in this form, and you also can extend the generation as well, or the duration of the ultimate. And then lastly, I would recommend that you pick up Ursine Strength, because this will give you an extra 20% additional maximum life while you're in the Werebear form. When you also come out of it, you also get that 3 seconds of being in the normal form. And then also while you're healthy, you deal 30% increased damage. Now, the reason this gets all put together in such a good way is because we are going to be picking up the extra passive buff, which is Provocation. when you are able to use this, or when you're in the Werebear form, for 20 seconds, your next skill that you use, that's any skill, will be overpowered. So if you can combine that with Trample or with the Pulverize as well, and you time it correctly, you can do back-to-back overpowered damage and do a ton of AoE damage, but also damage to bosses as well. This makes it really fun, and also you can keep yourself in the Werebear form when you are punching with the maul, and also 20 seconds is what it will be when you are on the rank 3, when you've leveled it all the way up. So the main loop of the build is for 12 seconds, you'll wait for your Pulverize, due to the enhanced nature of it, to stack up. You'll go into a fight, drag a bunch of enemies together, then do your initial Pulverize, then go into a loop of using Trample or the Poison Creeper to immobilize everything. Then you get your Provocation to proc as well, and then you can do another overpowered Pulverize as well, and by that time it will probably already be back up ready for another slam as well. And then also on top of that, you are going to be able to use your ultimate to keep in there as well. You're also going to be able to immobilize everything too, and also use the maul to generate your spirit back as well. And then also in the downtime, I would highly recommend that you pop Debilitating Roar when you get the chance to, because it will give you that additional fortification, and you can also become fortified thanks to it, and this will be crazy, especially when you are going to be doing so much damage. But now let's take a quick look at the skill tree, speed run through it to tell you what to pick up as you go through the levels, and then we'll talk about the pros and cons of the build. So let's run through the skill tree. First of all, you're going to get yourself Maul, and then Enhanced Maul and Fierce Maul. But as soon as you unlock Pulverize, put all of your points into getting Enhanced Pulverize and also just the regular Pulverize, and then eventually Primal Pulverize as well. And then as long as you are pumping this up as you go along, then get yourself Debilitating Roar. Once you get this, you're definitely going to want to get yourself Enhanced Debilitating Roar, which will give you that extra fortification, which is what you want. And then just this is the main area where you want to make sure that you're putting some of your points into early. Don't put anything in here just yet until you get some additional extra points. Pick up yourself Poison Creeper, as you know, you can get one of these and then move on. Get yourself Enhanced and Brutal Poison Creeper, because it gives you those additional effects. But as soon as you unlock this tree, as soon as you unlock Trample, put 1 point in Mending and 1 point in Provocation, and then max this out so you can get that overpowered damage, and then also get Enhanced Trample and Savage Trample as well, because this gives you 20 Spirit. Then you move into your ultimate, which is the Grizzly Rage one. Then you get Prime Grizzly Rage and Supreme Grizzly Rage. Then you can start pumping your points into the passive stuff. So if you go back up here and put it into Iron Fur for damage reduction, and also Predatory Instinct as well is also very good. The reason being is then as soon as you unlock Ursine Strength, it takes quite a few points to unlock. The next little while, you can then put it into Defensive Posture, Nature's Resolve, and start stacking out stuff just until you get a little bit further forward. As I'm only level 36 now, so I have about 14 points if we give or take, and then as soon as I've done some more dungeons, I can alter this build and move on. As for stats, the main thing you want to look for is willpower, but don't really overly obsess with your stats, because you're going to be swapping your gear out a lot until you hit like level 40 maybe 45, that you'll start to see things where you need to start min-maxing a little bit more. Also, legendaries, don't worry about the aspects that you get on them for the moment. If you do get a very good legendary, use it, especially if it's got something good, like for example here, Skills deal 50% more critical strike damage to controlled enemies. That's also good. And another thing to note, two-handed weapons give you an increased buff when you are using them. I'm not too sure how it works, but if you're using a one-hand weapon, it doesn't give you the full stack for some reason. I think it's just because you're using two hands on it, which gives you an increased buff. So yeah, make sure you're trying to prioritize a two-handed weapon here, especially maces and also axes as well. And then obviously you've got your other stuff. So yeah, make sure as well, stats-wise, damage to close enemies is also very good. And then also damage reduction, damage to close enemies, critical strike damage, overpowered damage. those types of things. But I'll do a follow-up build on that. But let's talk about the pros and cons of the build. So the biggest con when it comes to this build is that it's going to be a slow starter, but then as you get more skills and more points in your skill tree, you are going to be able to do a hell of a lot more damage, especially if you pump up that Pulverize damage as well. You will get to a point in the game where things will start to be a little bit tankier, but that's when you get better gear and you start to level up a little bit more. And I think around about 37 to 40 is going to be the time where you start to see this build struggling a tiny little bit, but you will then be able to change this as long as you go and get some dungeons as you make your way through the campaign. And you can alter this because I'm going to be making a follow-up build for this in future. The other thing that I would say is the pro about this, it's very tanky. It can survive for a very long period. Even with the reduced range that it has, you can get a little bit more range when you alter the build in future, but you need to make sure that you're learning the boss mechanics that you're going up against in any of the dungeons, and also dodging accordingly, and making sure the most key thing you do is keep your potions and your health stocked up at 100% at least majority of the time. 80% with that fortify as well, to make sure you permanently have the chance to use the overpowered fortification damage buff thing that makes everything go and die. This build is a hell of a lot of fun. I definitely recommend checking it out and trying it if you're jumping into the Druid for the first time. Hopefully this video has been helpful. If it has, please leave a like on it, subscribe if you're new, turn on the notification bell. As always, this has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.